Hello Internet! Today we are going to talk about how to organize records, because there's records from all over the world in this room and I like to keep them organized so I know where to look when I try to find them or where to put them when I have a bunch of new ones. But first I want to read you a little bit of a poem from this little book, which I will get back to later, and it is relevant, I promise. We are all mosaics, pieces of the people we've loved and who have loved us, the art and media that have moved us, the things we valued, the experiences we've had. They all leave pieces of themselves and form the people we are. More on that later, but first, how to organize records. If you have 50 records, it's easy, you just put them in the shelf. If you have 500 records, you might get away with one or two of these Kallax shelves. But then what do you do once it starts going in 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, more than that? It's gonna take over a whole room. This is not all my records, there's some more over there. But I figured out a way to organize them so it kind of makes sense. First, over there, I have records coming in. So there's a shelf dedicated to records that I just bought. So they're all in one place and I know, oh, I need to go through these records and process them. So that's to process and to listen or to rip, and then I write down on these little notes what's on the record, BPMs, vibe, energy, mood, whatever I need to know when I'm DJing. But then they're gonna end up somewhere in these shelves. Now, I thought the most logical way to organize this is by geographical location, or at least a place on the map where I think they should be. So here we have Caribbean, but then also here we have Africa, South Africa, Jamaica, which is then close to the UK because of the Windrush generation migrating from Jamaica to the UK. So dub influenced things are here. Then we move to like dub techno things, which then crosses over into Detroit and Detroit techno. There's techno, electro, and then this is all house by producer or like label. So there's a couple of categorizations you can use, which is like country, artist or producer, label. But I think the most logical way to do it is how your brain does it. So I cannot tell you how your brain works, but if you think it's a logical way to do it, put them in the shelf. And if it doesn't work, change it, try another one. And let space to grow. For example, this is all Joe Clazel, which started off as like a single deep house shelf at one point, and then grew, and now there's like all these deep house artists, labels, Neroli, Shannon Harris, Kuniyuki, Spiritual Life, which is Joe's label, but then here's Ron Trent, Larry Hurd, you know, like this is all like similar sounds, similar geographical region, at least in my brain. It's kind of all in the US, but then we move to different kinds of house, more New York style house. But then next to that, we here have Latin and Afro house, which to me is then again a little bit different, even though there might be some Latin and Afro house in here, or even like some, house edits of Latin jazz tracks. Latin jazz is over here. But yeah, Masters at Work, Louis Vega, Antonio Ocasio, but also Joe Clazel, they all have kind of like roots in Puerto Rico. So that for me is close to the Caribbean, so that's why it's here in the shelf of, one could say, the Caribbean sounds. Even though Africa and Brazil and Cabo Verde are all in there, Suriname as well. So it kind of like has to be morphed into something that will obviously work in, where you have shelves. But I do think having it like this, and then having Belgium there, and disco, and Italo, and 80s stuff, and then more jazzy, again back to the UK, which is also there. So how do you organize records? I don't know, just figure out a way you want to containerize things or categorize things, and put them in there and see if it works. If it doesn't, try again. But I do think geographical location or label kind of helps, because sounds are often tied to geographical locations, and that is a good way to have a visual overview of your collection as well, that you can then use to create sets that go from A to B or from certain places to other places and tell a nice story. but that's also what I like so much about records, is because yourself, in a way, kind of tells the story of you, and that's why I wanted to read this poem, because yeah, for me, records are kind of like a library of your musical journey, and also, yeah, tell a story of who you are musically, where you've been, the places you've maybe mentally visited, or by closing your eyes, you went to certain islands in the Caribbean, or you actually went there because of the music. So yeah, records over algorithms. That is my takeaway for today, that I hope you do something with. Delete your Spotify account, it's horrible. And go visit a record store and spend that 10 or 15 bucks in a record store and start building a records collection. I'll finish with this poem by David Larbi, who has a lovely Instagram account with joyful pieces of text and poem. I love mosaics. Mosaic is the art of creating images using small pieces of colored glass, stone, or other materials. It's an art form that can be traced back an incredibly long way to the 3rd millennium BC, to be precise. And though my skills have always been more inclined towards words than pictures, mosaics have always intrigued and delighted me. I love the idea of small pieces of things that are often beautiful in their own right, colored glass, tiles, and the like, coming together to form new, individually beautiful images that are even more beautiful because of what makes them up. We are all mosaics, pieces of the people we've loved and who have loved us, the art and media that have moved us, the things we valued, the experiences we've had. They all leave pieces of themselves and form the people we are. Our precious and remarkable individuality comes from the fact that, though we all have things in common, no two people's experiences are identical. This is something that only grows in truth, and the longer we live in and experience the world and the people in it. I always smile when I notice a particular affection of mine, the way I say a certain thing or a movement I make, and realize that it's something I've picked up from someone I love and admire. As we navigate life in search of meaning and significance, everything that sticks with us is important. And it is a moving and humbling experience to examine ourselves and see what makes us up. No two of us are the same, and that is a beautiful thought. We are all so important. It's also a beautiful thought that in the same way that other people have shaped us, we have had a hand in shaping others too. We do not know the many ways in which us shining our unique lights in the lives of others has affected them for good. There are mannerisms of ours, words of encouragement, ideas we've had, pieces of us that live on in other people that we may not see but that are deeply appreciated where they exist. The responsibility we have to each other is hugely significant. The things we pass on to each other are important because they have the power to contribute to someone's personal mosaic. We will sometimes fall short, as the imperfect beings we are. Knowing that we have the ability to shape those around us means that there is gravity in our actions. However, and choosing to make that effect as positive as it can be, makes each mosaic more beautiful. You are something sublime, a dazzling piece of art because of everything you have encountered. You are a wonderful artist and architect because of everyone you've had a part in shaping with the love you've had for them. And then he finishes with a journal prompt, which I think is a nice takeaway for this video. Who are the people who are most influential in building your personal mosaic? What kind of person would you like to hold that space in your life? And what positive effect do you think you have on the mosaics of those you love? See you on the next one.